Many thanks for joining us here on News Today. My name is Kwabena Chencha Hinibwati. To our very first story this hour, and management of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital has sanctioned the president of the hospital Senior Staff Association, Dr. Charles Ofe-Palm, over alleged malicious comments on an Accra-based FM station. The hospital management say Dr. Ofe-Palm's pronouncement on Class FM on Thursday, March 17 this year constitutes a misrepresentation of facts and peddling of falsehood, according to the interdiction letter signed by Kolebu's Director of Human Resource, Samuel Akotia Akweri. The specialist pharmacist breached the hospital's media policy when he touched on sensitive issues during the interview. The interdiction letter would not state the specifics of Dr. Ofe-Palm's purported false comments, but states that comments made during the said interview tarnished the image of the hospital and also brought the name of the facility into disrepute. Joining me now in studio to shed more light on this is the man who has been interdicted by the hospital for allegedly making those malicious comments on Accra-based Class FM. So, Dr. Ofe-Palm is joining me now in studio with a lot more on this. So, Doc, good afternoon. Many thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon.
So, the very first thing I would like to ask is why breach the hospital's codes or policies in the interest of a select field? In this case, your union, your association, the Senior Staff Association.
Thank you very much, and let me take this opportunity to greet all your cherished viewers. Let me say that Charles Ofe-Palm, the president of the Kolebu Senior Staff Association, did not breach the hospital media policy. The hospital media policy is very, very, very clear. There are guidelines that are related to individual staffs. Now, it's noted all over that union leaders or union executives, they speak on behalf of the association. So they are allowed by law and for that matter to talk on issues. So we realize that you have the NAGRA, GRNA, GMA spokesperson, they all speak on behalf of the association, and that does not breach the media policy of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. So to me, that's not even a non-starter of the issue.
The comments you are alleged to have passed on the Class FM, we are told, are comments that seem to put the hospital in a bad light. What are these exact comments? Really, what are these issues you have against?
Well, there were so many issues that were discussed. First of all, I was there because of the vindication. No, there was this audit report that had been published, and they wanted me to throw more light on that. For example, in the audit report, the Auditor General found out that Kolebu had paid 92,000 Ghana cedis for former CEO and had given him free VW car after he had used it for only 2 years. And not in the same report, there was this judgment debt Kolebu had to pay, at least up to the tune of 300,000 at that time, to staff that were arbitrarily dismissed, and they took the case to court and they won. So the general wanted to find more, partly because at that time we were labeled as mafians, and because people were bringing change and the change was going to affect us, we were resisting. So when the issue was published, these were the things that were raising, that Kolebu doesn't follow procedures and processes. For example, the law is very clear on financial administration regulation. If there are certain things, you need to seek approval from the sector minister. The sector minister then will seek approval from the finance minister, and then you get back to Kolebu. This wasn't done. This was clearly flouted. So they asked of my views, and I spoke about that. Now, they also asked my views about the trust fund. We had indicated point clear that the Senior Staff Association of Kolebu were not against the trust fund. We were demanding transparency and accountability. Now, this was echoed by the minister during the lunch. The minister was very blunt on that. He said, look, Kolebu must open up for people to see what is being done. In other words, there must be transparency and accountability. Now, we had read the issue because for some time, monies are being collected to be used for certain purpose in Kolebu, and the money end up not being used for the purpose. One of them, the children's block emergency. When you go there, the place is barricaded. The money where people donated monies for it to be used to construct an emergency unit for the child health department. But as we speak now, the process has come to a halt.
So where are these monies?
We can't find them. We can't find them. So if again Kolebu's name is going to be used to collect money from well-wishers, we think that, look, there must be a constitution that we demanded. The constitution will say A, B, C, D. So when the money is not being used according to what is stipulated in the constitution, then we have the right to demand. We are just watchdogs of probity, accountability, and transparency. That is all.
Well, one would suggest that obviously there are internal mechanisms with dealing with such issues. Why not exhaust those mechanisms? Why opt for the media?
No, we did that. We did that. We did that. We wrote, in fact, in one of our in-house meetings, I personally was there as invited member of the in-house committee where the consultant, heads of department were all there. And we raised the issue. That was 1 month before the launch. That we want to see transparency. I'm talking about transparency because our sources are telling that because they didn't raise enough money, they thought that some of the pronouncements I had made had contributed to people not contributing. But the issue is that people have institutional memory of the hospital. Now, I keep saying, for example, if you can dismiss people and incur judgment debt up to 800,000 Ghana cedis, meaning that you have a problem in your management of finances, and somebody can manage his finances well and come and give you some money, then you have to do your homework well. Let the people know that we need money. But then when that money comes to us, we can manage them properly, efficiently. And so we are just playing the roles of watchdog, of probity, accountability, and transparency. So all that you are saying that we are not against the trust fund. But then let's make sure if you are a CEO and you are using double exhaust, meaning you are likely to consume more. How many CEOs in this country use double exhaust car? It's not because they cannot afford, but they know the consequence of using double exhaust car. The fueling. And this is a hospital. We must manage the very scarce resources. These are money that have come from people who have gone to sell their houses, who have gone to sell their properties to purchase healthcare. And so when you have that money, it's not a profit-making organization. So you need to really use that scarce resources, that scarce funds judiciously. And we are just being watchdog of it. Okay, so I don't say someone should get offended and then don't follow due process and interdict me. I think that is wrong. Okay,
we'll be coming to the due process you claim has not been followed. But you speak of you playing a role as a watchdog. And over the period, this has been happening. Between 2012 and 2016, the facility, the hospital, has had about 3 CEOs. Almost always over the same issues, mismanagement. Really, could it be the case that all 3 have been mismanaging Kolebu's money? Or it could be the case that really maybe what the others have been saying, I'm speaking of what you claim, that a number of people suggest that you are just sabotaging the system for your own good.
It's funny to say that one is trying to sabotage the system. On a more serious note, let me correct this impression. Let's note that it is only once, that is under Reverend Alberto Okotubekwi. That was when staff rose up against him. Now, the reason was that we have seen that IGF, by law and by policy, is not supposed to be used to purchase cars. Now, 1 million of that IGF money, today we are crying that we don't have money. So let's look at the back. What happened, not transferred backwards. We are complaining. And then that money was used to purchase cars. It's not only that. We also realized that board allowances were increased arbitrarily for over 300%. Board allowance was 500, it was increased to 2,200. To some extent, it was increased. We had board fees and board allowances. And then when we raised those issues, I was glad that time the sector minister came up to say, no, Kolebu has not come to seek any permission for me to increase the allowance. That is not the process, and that's not the procedure. And for that matter, Kolebu Now, the minister gave a directive at that time that there were 2 cars that were left. And for that matter, if those cars were not allocated to anybody, they should return to the ministry because we cannot continue to use those monies to buy cars. When she left, the order was not followed. That same 2 cars were reallocated again to 2 directors who were on probation, who were having 2 brand new cars. So the question you keep asking yourself, what are we doing in the hospital? There's a policy which has been flouted. The minister has come out. He has written a letter, signed, referring to the policy. And you have no money mindset. So who is supposed to be the watchdog? And we keep saying that, and you see basic things in the hospital are lacking. You realize, for example, we don't have gloves, we don't have even suction machine. How much does it cost? But we end up spending money on other things other than what the money is supposed to be used for. Like patient care. And we bear the ground. Patients come in, for example, you don't have a medicine, comes midnight, there's no reagents in the laboratory. They start stopping you. And some of them, the price is just as 2 cedis. So when they wait and they go and buy it across the street early in the morning, they come and ask, so the drug is just 1 cedi, and you can't have it in your place. So I have to wait. If something has happened to the patient, what will have happened? Look at the closure of the surgical blocks. Look at ICU. Look at the closure of eye department. There are signs that we have. There are problems, and this can be resolved when there's prudent management of our scarce resources. And so nobody should be attacked because you are promoting accountability.
You think you're just being attacked?
Yeah,
speaking of your interdiction, you believe you're just being attacked just for voicing out these concerns?
Yes, it's a clear case of victimization.
You're being victimized?
I'm being victimized. By speaking the truth. By the management. If you look at the letter...
Who specifically in management?
Oh, it's the board chairman and then the chief executive. Now, there's no management meeting that decided that Charles Pound, the spokesperson and then the president of Kolebu Senior Association should be interdicted. There's no board meeting that indicates that I should be interdicted. So who did it? Now, you realize that one of the problems you have in Kolebu, I'm going to say, is that most of the directors are on act probation. What it means is that if you don't koto, excuse my language, let me just koto, succumb the certain demands, quote unquote, the CEO, you are likely that he's going to write a report that will not be confirmed.
Has there been any such?
Of course, but why would a human resource director who knows the law of the human resource relations, who know the processes and systems that go into interdiction, will be coerced and forced to sign a letter which he himself knows that is not true?
But you do not have evidence to back that fact.
Oh, but look at the letter.
That the HR officer was coerced to do that.
That's why he signed. The CEO is there. Why didn't he let the CEO sign? But he said for the CEO. I mean, they're all there. You don't understand what I'm saying? Because you are supposed to advise management on the procedure. We are crying about bad judgment depth. What it simply means that people don't care because of their ego, arrogance, and insolence. They don't care taking any decision. At the end of the day, Kolebu pays. And then at the end of the day, the system is going down. So the permanent workers of Kolebu, when you retire as a staff in Kolebu, they give you one piece, 35 Ghana cedis. But someone who works for 7 days, he's 7 or 8 years, he's giving 92,000 plus a brand new car. The question you ask yourself, is it an animal farm? Now, the money is not coming from government. The money is coming from staff. Those dependents come and purchase healthcare. Okay. So this is all we are saying.
All right. So finally, before we go, yes, now you have been interdicted. What next?
All next is to seek redress.
You're going to court?
Oh, one of them. Partly one of them is to seek redress. I need to clear my name. Because around Ghanaians, when they hear interdiction, most of the time interdiction is associated with misappropriation, stealing. I have not done that. I am just speaking the truth, and I've been in clear case of victimization. I need to go to the court too and seek redress. Okay. Apart from talking to the executive, we are going to have a meeting and come up with a statement. But for now, I think that since I have nothing to do, I need to let Ghanaians know that my interdiction is not based because of misappropriation. Right. My interdiction is not based because of stealing, but because that we stand for the viability of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Dr. And if people who are in management and board believe that standing for the viability of the hospital is a threat, then so be.
Many thanks for your time. Thank you very much. Afternoon here on News Today. And that was Dr. Charles Ofair-Palm. He's with the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. He's actually the president of the Senior Staff Association of the facility, and he's saying that he's clearly being victimized. Mind you, he has been interdicted for certain comments he made, which the hospital deems as malicious and not in the best interest of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. We have been trying to get in touch with the management of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. I've been speaking to Mustafa Salif, who happens to be the PRO. He says the hospital declines commenting on the issue for now. So we'll leave that here for now and then move on to some other stories. And in other stories, NPP Bunawafo Regional Youth Organizer Kwame Bamfo has filed a motion at the Supreme Court to stop the limited voter registration exercise slated for April 28 this year. The motion on the limited voters registration is scheduled for hearing on April 6, 2016. Mr. Bamfo says he's of the firm conviction that until the final determination of the case by the court, the limited registration by the EC must not be allowed to go on. He's been speaking to me on News Desk.
Register, and this is the case, the Electoral Commission on Commission. The findings of the VCRC committee report are the true reflection of the weaknesses or flaws of the current register. So I'm looking that the Electoral Commission should get us a credible register so that peace will prevail at the end of the day.
And clearly the Electoral Commission tells us that there have been steps to ensure that the register that is going to be used is credible. They, for instance, ask people like yourself and your party.
This same Electoral Commission is saying that it is arbitrary or this is against the law for them to remove names from the voter register. So what steps are they taking to clean the register?
I don't recall hearing the EC say that exactly. All they do say is that when the time is due and you have evidence to back your claim that person A or person B is not fit to be in this register, provide the evidence, and then the person's name is going to be expunged from the register. Really, what's so difficult to understand about that?
They are saying that currently they do admit that over 600 people and names in the register, they are deceased ones, but they don't have the death certificate, which will give them the mandate to clear their names. And for that matter, going ahead to do that without the death certificate is arbitrary and discriminatory. They also admit that the 76,000 Togolese allegation, they follow due process to have their name registered. And for that matter, it is arbitrary for them to expunge their name from the register. So what are the process?
To some more stories now, and some dismissed army recruits have today been picketing at the headquarters of the ruling National Democratic Congress. My colleague Derek Ekosam is just returning from the headquarters of the NDC and is joining me now in studio with a lot more on what he gathered this morning. Derek, many thanks to joining us. So, really, what are the concerns of these many recruits who decide to picket at the headquarters of the NDC?
Well, let me just say they were about 50 in number. Part of the larger group. You know, about 500 people who were dismissed from the army about 3 months ago, recruits to be precise. Now, according to these men who were picketing at the headquarters of the National Democratic Congress today, they have been unfairly treated. To them, they shouldn't have been taken out of the army because of that particular issue, that they felt that they were not given a fair hearing, and that had they been given a fair hearing, they may not have been asked to go out of the army, and that according to them, somewhere in December they were just asked to voluntarily go on a Christmas break, something they were not expecting because they had been in there for just a little over 2 months, so they were not expecting to be told to go out there. So today they called their friends, they decided to meet at the Brassport earlier, that was around 7 a.m. and then from there they moved to the NDC headquarters. According to them, they want to get their plea to the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, who is the President. Yeah. And the President is also the flag bearer of the ruling National Democratic Congress. And so when they get to the NDC headquarters and they speak to any of the party executives, they know that their petition will be forwarded to the President. Okay.
Earlier you told me that this forms part of a series of things they want to do. This is just one of them. What other options are they looking at?
Well, apart from speaking to the NDC, they also hope to speak to some other political parties as well, the NPP, the CPP, the PPP, and all the other political parties. So what they intend doing is to use the political arena to sort of get themselves back into the army. According to them, they spent a lot of money going in there to buy the form. They spent a lot of money also catering for themselves whilst they were in there and also preparing to go into the army. And so for them, it's more of a dream that has been crushed, but they will go to any length to ensure that the dream is back on track and they come out as army officers who would serve the country.
Right. Derek Ekosam, many thanks for that update. That's my colleague Derek Ekosam, who just returned from the headquarters of the ruling National Democratic Congress, where quite a number of army recruits picketed there earlier today, demanding that a petition they had brought to the party executives earlier be presented to the President, John Dramani Mahama. Earlier on news, this guy spoke to a relative of one of these recruits, and he tells us that indeed these recruits say that they did not err in doing what they did. Indeed, they were simply following orders.
This is a young man who throughout his life his aim is just to join the military because of the morale, you know. And we have to convince him to, when he finishes the GSS, we have to talk to him, convince him to go to SS before he can be enlisted into the Ghana Armed Forces. Here he is. Got enlisted after 1 year recruitment exercise, got enlisted into the armed forces, and then all of a sudden he was sent back home without fault of his. You can just imagine the emotional trauma he's going through now. Every day and now we have to talk to him because we are afraid that he may even commit suicide because all of his life is military. You see. Before the incident happened, they are supposed to pass up square. I mean, when you pass up square, that means your training schedule will be reduced. So they were polishing their shoe ready for the pass up square the following day before the incident happened. You can just imagine. And economically, it's dependent on us, everything you have to provide for him. Meanwhile, we also thought that by now he should be on his own. So it's a very terrible blow to the family and he himself.
You're watching news today here on your Joy News channel on Multi TV. We're going for a break. When we come back, we have a lot more stories for you. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying on news today. To some more stories now, and the communal conflict is looming in the Lauda district of the Upper West region over the siting of a government community day senior high school. The school is currently earmarked to be built in the town of Bo in the eastern corridor of the district, but the neighboring of Domwini says the land allocated for the school is theirs and are insisting that the SHS be named after their community rather. Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam visited the area and now reports.
Domwini and Bo are two communities located close to each other in the Lara district of the Upper West region. Apart from their closeness to each other, indigents from both communities are related by blood ties and have been living peacefully since the days of yore. However, the peace that exists between the two communities is not being threatened due to government's plan of siting one of the new community day senior high school at the eastern corridor of the district. All four communities in that enclave appear to have interest in the siting of the facility in their communities. The Lara District Assembly then set up a committee to look into the issue and find a suitable place for the siting of the school. The committee, after visiting all the four communities, settled on a parcel of land located between Domwini and Bo and recommended for work to begin. Martin Bawochelano Dominic is the assemblyman for the Domwini electoral area.
What I know is when they went, it was the Domwini people who showed the land. But unfortunately, the name of the school came in the name of Bo. So Domwini people immediately petitioned the president through the regional minister, saying they are not objecting a senior high school to that particular community. But if it was on their own shown land, the two communities, this is the first time I'm seeing something different. They were like one. If you know one, single one, that was how it was. But it looked like the community entering about development have not been done properly.
Bawochelano now warned the situation could degenerate into a communal conflict if the authorities fail to act faster on their petition.
The minister should get the paramount chief and the DCE and some stakeholders should meet these two communities. If they meet them, they meet the Tendama. I don't think this will be a problem.
His opposite number at Bo electoral area, Beat Pencil No, however, downplayed his threat.
It was when they were trying to obstruct, that is what I would say, that they went over to, after we had shown our piece of land, and they also went the other way around and went and showed another piece of land that was close to ours. I can see that it had entered our place. So they showed their place and Bo also showed their place. So I'm surprised, I'm very surprised that they will say that that piece of land is for them. If it is 18, then we are coming back to the district assembly, because it was the district assembly that set up the committee, and that committee went into the matter and brought the report to the district assembly.
Meanwhile, the Lara District Commander of the Ghana Police Service, ASP Benjamin Samani, said his outfit was already aware of the tango between the two communities.
For now, I can boldly tell you that I've monitored as a police commander the situation there, and it's relatively calm. And we are still monitoring. Should there be anything, we'll give you that.
Despite a threat of a looming conflict between the two communities, the contractor is on site and work is already progressing steadily. Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam, Laura.
And in the crowd, my name is Kwabena Chenchen, but into some more stories. Now, this time around, let's turn our attention to the courts, where we are told the state has dropped its case against British fugitive David McDermott. The son-in-law of the governor of the Bank of Ghana was charged with engaging in prohibited business related to narcotics here in Ghana. Let's go onto the phone lines now and speak to my colleague Raymond Akwa, who was in court and is joining me now with those details. So, Raymond, tell us really the reasons given for this decision by the state.
Not much. All that we are told is that the state is no longer interested in the case and that they will rather concentrate on the extradition case before the High Court. We know that this particular decision was previously hinted when the prosecutor told everybody in court that they can't be handling both cases at the same time, so they may have to make a decision. What was surprising was that today they took the decision to first and foremost start some other proceedings in the court before going out and coming in again to announce the decision that now they are no longer going to pursue this particular case. So by the time they took this decision, it was when they actually started other proceedings. They moved an earlier motion. So that's what happened in court.
Okay, so what does this mean? Does it mean that now we are just looking at getting him out of the country, possibly to the UK to face trial?
Yes. Now they are all concentrated on making sure that the extradition procedures go through and they're able to get into the UK, face charges which are related to the same narcotics for some $71 million worth of cocaine, which was supposed to be imported into the UK from Argentina in some frozen fish or beef, as they term it in that particular charge. But that is what they are concentrating on now. And that's what the High Court, as I speak to you right now, is actually dealing with.
Right. Okay. Many thanks for that update. Raymond Akwa, who joined us from the court with details there. And indeed, if you're just tuning in, it has to do with David McDermott, the son-in-law of the Bank of Ghana, of the governor of the Bank of Ghana, whom we are told that the state has dropped its case against him. Now they're focusing on the extradition case currently before the High Court. We're taking a break here on News Today. When we come back, we'll bring you some business updates. Stay with us.
Now time to do some business. And the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, ICU, says it has no problem if workers from internal union without allegiance to the national body, so long as procedures are duly followed. This is coming in the light of the union's negotiations with the Apex Bank on welfare packages for rural and community bank workers. The union is by engagement seeking to address the situation where rural and community banks disregard the right of workers to form and join unions. General Secretary Solomon Kote says the forming of internal unions may not necessarily augur well for the workers.
They have their right also to opt out from the union, but the right to opt out from the union, they must have an eye on how and what the processes are to be able to work out. To form an in-house union, the law is not against it, but to form an in-house union in trampling upon the rights of others, that is where the union will frown on it. And when you leave the national union and you form an in-house union, you have your own peculiar challenges.
Is it that prevalent now?
Oh, I wouldn't say it is prevalent, but we have some few smeary ones coming around, and sometimes who knows, they want to try something that has not succeeded in Ghana yet because they are not able to negotiate effectively and efficiently, because you find yourself going to sit with your own employer to negotiate.
And the government is set to recommence the fertilizer subsidy program for farmers this Friday. It has subsidized 180,000 metric tons of granular fertilizer to 120 million Ghana cedis, but access remains a challenge. According to the Send Ghana report, government failed to meet its fertilizer subsidy target by 50% in 2015. Deputy General Secretary of the General Agric Workers Union, Edward Karewe, says they only hope government has instituted measures to address distribution challenges to farmers this year.
It is my prayer that they are also taking into account the hindrances that militate against the distribution of the fertilizer. So those ones will also be eliminated so that the fertilizer will get to the farmers at the right time. And then they've also ensured that the distribution outlets, the bottlenecks that are associated with them have been addressed so that farmers can easily have access to the fertilizer instead of walking for many kilometers to go to the distribution centers for the fertilizers, and then they get there and then the agent is not there, and then they go back with empty hands. I believe they've addressed all those issues.
And finally, government has indicated plans to use an electronic platform to manage the subsidy program as part of effort to improve efficiency and transparency. Meanwhile, the growth of Ghana's vegetable sector would be hampered in the coming years if the current limitations in meeting international standards are not urgently addressed. That's the warning from Ghana Vegetable, or the Ghana Veg, the Netherlands-based organization whose goal is to improve and sustain vegetable productivity. It is therefore urgent government to address the problem as soon as possible. More from Ghana's veg and the business opportunities in this report.
Said Ghana continues to struggle with rejections of vegetables by the EU due to the presence of organisms which are deemed harmful. This has led to a high number of seizures. The country is currently at the top of the European Commission's alert list of developing countries with poor interception records. In September last year, the EU placed an export ban on some vegetables from Ghana. Ghana Veg says the country needs to act promptly with serious and well-organized measures to be able to regain access to the European market. It noted that farms producing for export markets have been forced to put their products on the local market at lower prices and are even moving away from producing export crops as the demand for these are limited locally. Ghana Veg warns if the ban continues, exporters may lose their market share and affect future development of Ghana's vegetable sector. It urged government to focus more on meeting the recommendations made by the EU's Food and Veterinary Office. The current suspension is provisionally due to last until the 31st of December this year, but can be reviewed in light of new developments.
So that will be it for business. My name is John Kojo Amokuba. You can join me between 1 and 1:30 on the marketplace for more. Stay tuned.
Thank you so much for your time. My name is Gladys Osei Oredu. Black Stars player Efriye Akwa has disclosed his interest to feature in his favorite song's video clip, Shatawale's Kakai.
I like, Shatawale and then Stone Boy, and then, I like the music too. Normally I used to listen to that music too. Even me, I like that Kakai too. The Kakai with the hair. That song,
So if Shatawale calls you for a video, like for Kakai, would you like to feature in the video?
Of course, yeah, I'll do it.
Then you're really a fan of Shatawale then?
Yeah, I would say yes, but, I like Stone Boy too. Yeah.
Right. Awards organizing entity Kumawood has created a new Google app where all information and clues about Kumawood can be found. The application, dubbed Kumawood as the official app for the entity, will contain news about Kumawood, the movie stars, movies, programs, and their mobile application was developed by Mr. Joseph Hagen of Papmore Group of Companies in collaboration with the CEO of Kumawood Akobin Film Festival and Awards, Mr. Samuel Dakon. So Kumawood, it's an initiative of Ghanaian movie producer, Mr. Dakon, and of course it seeks to award the hard work and beautiful movies produced in local dialect in Kumasi. And last year's 2015 edition, the artist of the year, the overall actor of the year was Lowen. Ghanaian actress Roselyn Ingiza has debunked the assertion that many actors and actresses go into movie producing simply because there aren't many roles for them.
I want to debunk that notion that they are not being given roles, and that's the reason why they are producing. No, and that's why I use Juliet Ibrahim as an example. She was a star, she is a star still, but she was a star before she produced her first movie, and she is still a star, and she's still filming for other people, even as a producer. Likewise, Kafui, Salma, Yvonne Nelson, So it's not about they not having roles, but I think they want to produce. I'm sure they had this dream years back, and they are now, executing it. That's it.
Right, so according to Rosalind Ngiza, it's not because they are hungry for more roles, so they will produce to feature themselves, but it's just a choice, a desire to also produce. We bring you more updates at 4:45 during Let's Talk Entertainment. Thank you so much for your time.
And that'll be all for News Today this afternoon on your Joy News channel here on Multi TV. My name is Kwabna Chenchahinibwati. Remember to visit www.myjoyonline.com for a lot more stories. John Omako is standing by with the marketplace. Many thanks for your company.